Cleverly, the gates were built hollow. It only takes a small motor to move them. Ships sail through under their own power, but steering is another matter. The steel cables are now secured to small locomotives that maneuver the vessel by tightening or slackening the lines. It's a nerve-wracking job. Sometimes there is less than 1 foot between the hull and the concrete wall. Some people call locomotives mules, after the animals that worked early-day canals. These mules can each pull 35 tons. It takes 8 to steer the largest vessels. To keep things simple, only the pilot speaks. Mule drivers acknowledge in an ancient way. When a ship is in the chamber and the gates are closed, water races in, millions of gallons, all of it coming from the lake in the middle of the canal. And all of it moved only by gravity. There's not a single water pump in the Panama Canal. Water, soft and fluid enough to run through our fingers, is so strong it can lift a 70,000-ton ship 3 stories high in 10 minutes. Water even supplies the electricity that powers the gates and valves and the locks. It comes from turbines in the original dam that made the canal possible. When water in the lock chamber reaches the level of water on the other side, the gate opens. The ship moves to the next chamber. In stair-step fashion, 3 sets of locks at either end of the canal raise and lower ships in 2 lanes. About 40 a day pass through, then sail across what came to be called Gatun Lake. The ship channel through the lake follows the ancient riverbed of the CAJLR-S. On the other side, the process works in reverse, dropping ships back down through 3 locks. A transit takes about 10 hours, all of it accomplished using the power of water. In a way, the 10,000 people operating the Panama Canal are really running a gigantic water management company.
Wow, 10,000.
One of them trained for 10 years to be a pilot and has guided more than 1,000 large vessels through the canal.
I'm Captain Miguel Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Manager for Transit Operations and the Canal Operations Captain. And I've been working with the Panama Canal for the last 32 years. You don't find this anywhere else in the world, the way we do piloting in the canal, where we actually take over control of navigation and the movement of the vessels, is unique. Vessels that are over 80 feet in beam require 2 pilots to take it through the Panama Canal. Vessels that are over 900 feet in length require 3 pilots to go through the Panama Canal. control pilot takes it the first half, and then the second control pilot takes over at the halfway point and takes it the rest of the way out to sea.
Another crucial job is maneuvering a tugboat that leads vessels between the sea and the locks. Captain Alan Barnes deals with multi-million-dollar ships carrying cargo worth a small fortune.
Our main responsibilities here are to ensure the safe passage of the transiting vessels by assisting the pilots. The job is always changing, and you gotta adjust to every changing situation that happens. We are always there to assist the pilots so that no damage happens either to the structures of the Panama Canal or to the ships that are passing through.
From the beginning, the people of Panama hoped the canal would belong to them one day. In 1977, the dream came to pass. U.S. President Jimmy Carter and Panama's leader Omar Torrijos signed a treaty giving Panama complete control of the canal. Panama took over 2 decades later. Some were concerned the country might not be up to the task. But operation of the canal has continued without a hitch.
It's a very unpopular thing among the American voters to do that, but it was the right thing to do. And I think it's worked out beautifully because I understand that now, compared to when the Americans had control of the canal, income from the canal has increased 5 times as great as it was. It's operated absolutely beautifully. So I think in every way, it's been good for the United States, it's been good for the Panamanian people, it's been good for everyone who uses the canal.
Today, at the port of Cologne on the Atlantic side, people from around the world arrive to glimpse the legendary canal with their own eyes. Cruise ships sail through it almost daily. But the real business of the canal is commercial shipping. 300 million tons of goods move through every year. Tens of thousands of automobiles. The ingredients of maybe half the foods we eat. Materials used to build homes and offices. There are other man-made wonders, but most benefit the people of only one region. The entire world sends and receives vital goods through the Panama Canal. But ships have changed since the canal was built. It accommodates vessels 100 feet across and 1,000 feet long that carry up to 5,000 containers. But in recent decades, enormous ships have appeared that carry up to 13,000 containers. Stood upright, they would be nearly as high as the Empire State Building. Such ships now carry a majority of the world's cargo, but they're too big for the Panama Canal. Something had to be done. Leaders of Panama's Canal Authority searched for a way to keep the canal competitive. Led by the CEO at the time, Alberto Alamanzubieta, who became the architect and driving force of change.
The expansion project has been called the most important transportation project in the Americas. I believe it's one of the most important projects in the world. And the reason is that because we're going to modify one more time the way goods are moved between the 2 biggest oceans, the Pacific and Atlantic.
After several years and 150 studies, they decided on an immense expansion of the canal. The entry areas would be dredged deep enough for larger ships. 3 huge new locks would be built at each end of the canal. The plan would raise the level of Gatun Lake while deepening channels through the lake and the western mountains. The expansion would ensure Panama's future, and it would change global shipping. In 2007, the fun began. Tens of millions of cubic yards of soil and rock would have to be removed. The water management company would now also become a giant earth-moving company. The effort would require partners around the world.
When we count all of the countries that have been somehow involved with this project, including not just the locks project, but all of the dredging and the earth-moving part of the project, we're looking at over 35 countries that are represented here. The biggest technical challenge that we foresaw in this program was actually the logistics of it. The deployment of equipment would have to take place from all over the world, and also some of the fabrication, like example, gates would have to be fabricated elsewhere, not in Panama, and those would have to be transferred to Panama, transported overseas, and eventually arrive in Panama for installation.
The new 10-story high gates, weighing 4,300 tons each, were built in Italy. Getting them to Panama posed an historic challenge. No cargo like them had ever crossed an ocean. A huge ship was customized to carry 4 gates at a time. Delivering the 16 gates would take 4 voyages and 8 months.
A lot of earth is being moved. Almost as much earth has been moved this time than on the original construction.
Expansion demanded cutting-edge lock technology and the latest construction techniques. It would take 20,000 workers. Among them is Elia Espino de Marota, a Panamanian native and mother of 3, who has spent nearly 30 years as a canal engineer.
Managing a project of this size with over 200 contractors is challenging and rewarding. Have to learn to deal with different people of different countries also, because we have a consortia from 3 different countries. We also have the Pact 4 people that has people from Mexico, we have people from Costa Rica, we have people from Italy, Spain, Belgium. You need to learn how all these different cultures need to work together. The new canal, even though it's much larger, it's 7% less water per lockage. So per ship, we're going to use 7% less water. And we're going to put 3 times the amount of cargo.
Others help dredge channels deep enough for holes that reach 5 stories down. Among them, Elia's husband, Peter, captain of a dredge that has worked in canal waters more than 30 years.
The expansion of the canal is not just the building of the new locks. There is involved the deepening of the existing waterway, the widening of the waterway, the moving of the buoys and the lighthouses that guide the ships through.
In the new locks, gates slide in and out on tracks. Double gates mean one can be repaired without stopping traffic. The main culverts filling or draining water are so large, 2 trains could pass within them. The locks are a leap forward in engineering. technology. 2/3 of the water is stored in basins, then recycled. The ships using the new locks are too big to be steered by locomotive mules and cables, so tugboats will guide them through. The expansion brings the canal into the 21st century and reinstates it as the world's most vital waterway. Panama has other wonders besides the canal. It is home to an extraordinary diversity of animal and plant species that have migrated from both North and South America to this middle ground. Panama has the biggest concentration of coastline compared to landmass in all of Latin America. Some 6,000 islands rise along the Caribbean coastline and about 1,000 on the Pacific side. Parts of the rainforest remain as wild as they were in the days of the Spanish explorers. The indigenous population descended from the people living in Panama when the conquistadors arrived 5 centuries ago consists of 7 native tribes. Some live in comarcas, semi-autonomous reservations, where the Panamanian government has little say over their daily lives. They control large tracts of land, which cannot be developed without their consent. In a way, they serve as protectors of the land. Once just a remote isthmus, Panama serves as a crossroads of the entire world, which has also made it a unique melting pot of humanity.
¿Cómo está?
Panama City has grown into a business center midway between North and South America, a magnet for international businesses and banks. The country has the strongest economy in Central America, one of the strongest in all of Latin America. A long time has passed since the Spaniard Vasco Núñez de Balboa discovered that Panama was a link between the Atlantic and Pacific. But the country is living in the best moment of its history, mostly because of the Panama Canal, newly revitalized, ready for the future, and still a wonder of the world. Wild Panama is protected because it has to be. The people and the economy all depend on preserving the forests, which store rainfall like sponges and fill Gatun Lake, which feeds the Great Canal. It turns out it is possible to connect the greatest seas on Earth, to prosper as a rising power in the world, and to remain still a timeless paradise. The secret, as Panama found, is not to fight the forces of nature, but to live harmoniously with them, to turn an abundance of water into a wellspring of prosperity and hope, and a gift